Hi guys, thank you for checking the video out. Steve Buzza here, my partner in crime, Coach Megan. Today, episode 3 of Buzzabout Golf, where we're talking about how to hit it further. It's my speciality. Megan also has some top tips on the subject, but we thought we would both take the opportunity to thank Golf Digest for getting back on their Best Young Teachers of America list. So, big honor to be on there. You've been on there, you've been there for quite a while now. It's my second time, so thank you again. We've done stuff in the past with them, and check out Golf Digest. We'll be doing more content for them in the near future. Yep. So thank you.
January issue, you'll find our names. Bonita Bay Club, the Buzzas.
There we go. First of all, we have to go, is distance important? And I think too many amateur golfers are far more interested in fairways hit. You know?
Yeah, they just want to hit it straight. I don't want to sacrifice. Yeah, definitely.
So what the research has shown, so for a tour professional, if they can hit it 20 yards further, that will save them 0.75 shots around.
Okay.
So that's 0.75 shots around. You think a tour pro plays in 4 rounds?
Yep.
And that's almost a shot just by hitting it further. That's not, oh, if I chip well as well. That's just a shot off just by being further down the hole. Huh. So people go, oh yeah, but that's a tour pro. For an amateur, if you have 20 yards, it has a bigger influence on your scoring potential.
Wow. So like, would it be more than one stroke, or kind of roughly in that?
When I keep it broad, it means I don't know the actual number. I think it's like 2-3 shots.
Wow, goodness.
And I don't quote me on that, but it's substantial. And there's another stat that I saw that for every 1 mile an hour increase in club head speed you can create, that usually creates a lost shot.
Yep. Okay.
So distance is very important, and the metaphor that I like to use is darts. So if, like, let's say I turn up and I say, I'm challenging you to a game of darts. You've got to assume I'm good at darts, especially if I say, look, let's play for lots of money.
And he is good. He is good. So, okay. Right.
So, but you would think it's a scheme, wouldn't you? This person must be, what's going on here? But if I said, look, you can stand where we would normally stand, and I'm going to take a load of steps back, can you see all of a sudden the game has changed? We're not doing the same thing. So like if I was playing a world champion darts player, I would be naive to even consider playing them from the Oki. That is the actual name from where you take. I've gone off topic. I'm not going to take them on from the Oki. But if they said, look, I'll take 3 steps back. So
you're now at an advantage.
I'm at an advantage. And I might go, well, they're really good. That's probably still not a good enough advantage. Then if they go, well, look, I'm going to stand considerably further back. You go, well, it's now not the skill level. It's actually just, it's an easier task. When it comes to hitting fairways, so this is the second part. So when you look at like strokes gained, of course, it's better to be on the fairway. But there's a trade-off. So if you can hit the ball further down there and you've got a wedge from the rough, that's going to be easier than a 7-iron from the fairway. So it's finding that trade-off. And I like to.
Well, and also, what does it do for your confidence when you're bombing it out
Absolutely.
there? It's just this whole mindset that it gets you into that's going to carry over to your other shots. How are you going to feel confident if you're feeling like you can't do anything off of the tee?
Yeah. And I love that comment, because a lot of the time we talk about the stats across everything. And actually that mindset, actually trying to go out there and do well, can be a big one. I like to use the example of tennis. So from a performance analysis standpoint, you can have a first serve percentage that is too high. So if your first serve percentage is 100%, you're probably too safe on that serve.
Okay. Yeah.
Think about golf. As long as you're not hitting it, again, penalty strokes are a big no-no. But let's assume you're not hitting it in the penalty areas, just to go, it's better to be further down. It's better to have a 60% fairways hit stat and be further down than have an 80% and be closer.
Yeah. A bit of a spoiler alert is that most golfers do think that they have to just hit it straight. They're not trying to hit it far, where Steve's research is proving really otherwise, how important it is to try to hit it far. Spoiler.
Yeah. So so what I looked into was trying to hit it hard. So trying to hit it for distance versus trying to hit it straight. And it was novel. It was a novel piece of work. So no one had really looked at that before. So there was nothing I could go into golf to find it. So when I was doing my research, like looking at the previous literature, I had to look at other sports, and I couldn't find anything that really said that when you try to go faster, it makes you less stable. It makes you make more error. So that leads me into, really cool. And if you've had lessons with me before, you probably heard me talk about speed accuracy trade-off theory. Sounds really complicated, and it really isn't.
Sounds very fancy.
It's if you're writing an email and you rush and send it, you then read it back and you go, oh my, I've sent it to the wrong person. I've got loads of mistakes.
Yeah, totally.
No?
Yeah, no, I totally know. Yeah. So unfortunately.
We then think, so that's speed actually trade-off theory. So the quicker you did it, the more error there was.
Yeah.
So the slower you do it, the less error there is. That doesn't apply to human movement.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense for the golf swing for sure.
But from a logical standpoint, I think, like, well, if I go slower and I just make sure I get the contact, it should go straight. So I think there's...
Well, and that's the problem with all these myths in golf, is they make sense until you realize that they don't make sense.
Yeah.
There's quite a few myths out there.
Yeah.
But you know what I really like, what analogy I love that Steve told me, is it's also with the dart analogy, and this is my favorite one, is if you had a group of people that had a dartboard that were told, okay, I want you to hit the bullseye, and just for 2 weeks you're going to work on hitting the bullseye, and then you have the other group that's told, I want you to throw it as hard as you can and hit the bullseye. You come back after the 2 weeks, and the group that was told to throw it as hard as they can throw it as hard as they can and get pretty close to the bullseye, where the group that was told to try to throw it accurately can hit the bullseye. But then what happens when you say, oh, now I want you to throw it hard? Yeah. They've actually only learned the accuracy part, where the person doing the hard throws. And that was one of Steve's analogies that I really like that one.
Yeah. So that was actually
you like darts.
No, that
you
so
really
that
like darts,
so that was actually a study done. Throwing at a target. Yeah. So you learn how to be accurate. If you only focus on accuracy, you don't learn any of the power. So that's
I know I want to be powerful and accurate.
Yeah.
So that's why I try to bomb it.
Yeah. But there's a lot to say. Jack Nicklaus used to say to junior golfers, just try and hit it as far as you can, and you'll learn how to hit it straight. And that actually, when you look at the research, it's actually backed up by the research.
Yeah. So, and I think everyone's really excited about this right now with Bryson and all these different things. I mean, this is the research that you've really been looking into for years. So you're probably pretty excited about it too.
Well, it was interesting, but when I first released my research on a few different platforms, people said, no, that's not right. That's not right. And now you see what Bryson is doing.
The naysayers.
And there's that assumption that if you hit it further, you hit it wider. And there's two ways you can describe or analyze a drive. Is actually how far off the middle of the line it was, or the angle off line. So if you hit it further, yes, the likelihood is you will be slightly off the middle. Because think about it, if you release it one degree offline and it goes further, it will end up further away from the target. But the angle offline, so that kind of negates the distance, doesn't tend to go up with the longer hitters. They actually tend to be better than the shorter hitters. So the longer hitters are mechanically better. So it's sometimes better when you're practicing, let's try and be mechanically better and hit it further rather than trying to prioritize hitting it straight.
Yeah, it's the things that you have to do in an effort to try to hit it straight is actually costing you so many good things in your technique. So totally.
Yeah. So let's move on. So to myths and misconceptions, and straight in from what you were saying there, and I know that you really do spend a lot of time with your students, is don't keep your head down.
I am so fortunate that I get to really share that information with people every single day, which has been really fun, and that unleashes a lot of potential. We'll leave it this way because we have so much information to cover today that keeping your head down holds you back much more than helping you. Yeah. It does. So I think it's the number one myth in golf. Yes. But the number one piece of advice that everyone says to each other.
Yeah. And again, it comes from that safety element, because we talk more about accuracy. So because when we're thinking about the movement from that perspective, well, I have to be accurate, it makes sense to keep your head down.
Well, actually, I had a golf school today with a group of ladies, and I told them, I said, because we'd started with putting, I said, putting is the one shot in golf that I do want you to keep your head in that position. I want you to, after impact, I said, because I want it to be on the ground. I want it to go straight, and I don't want it to go far. So I said to them, if you want it to go on the ground, if you want it to be straight, which, you know, it will be straight, it's just not going to go anywhere. Yeah. And if you want it to not go far, that's when you would keep your head down.
So if that's what you want.
If you want that, keep it down.
And can you see that goes back to my tennis? Yeah. You can have you might hit 100% of fairways with your head down, assuming the fairway starts by the tee box.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't keep your head down.
Yeah, that's a myth, which I think we'll actually have to probably do a whole episode on that one, because that's such a fun topic.
So let's get into my myths and misconceptions. Number one, short is straight. And I'm applying that to two things. So a short backswing makes you hit it straighter. Not true.
Yeah, definitely not.
And a shorter shaft in the driver makes you hit it straighter. Not true.
Oh, I'm kind of surprised to hear about that one.
And like Jordan, our club fitter, he's trained in.
Oh, you said the shorter makes you hit it farther. Is that?
The shorter doesn't necessarily make you hit it straighter.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, that goes as well. So sometimes shorter can make you hit it longer. So
that correlation is a myth.
There isn't a strict correlation. Okay. So if I've got 10 people and I say a shorter driver will help you, it will help 3 people, probably 4 people. And then they'll tell everyone I was right. And then I'll use them as my backup. But I would have done a disservice to the others in the group. So a shorter shaft doesn't guarantee you go straighter. Some people swing a shorter shaft quicker. So going longer doesn't also mean you'll hit it further. You've got it's a really good example of where custom fitting, you have to try them, be tested, measure, and then you'll find the shaft length for you. As an industry, we tend to actually keep the driver shaft a little too generic. You know, so if you want to find, if you want to find a few yards, actually playing around with shaft lengths can be a way to do it. And then in terms of backswing, if you make a short backswing, you've got less time to create club head speed. So you've got less time to put energy into that golf club. So you're going to swing it slower, which means you're probably going to then overwork other things to try and make up for it. Plus you've got less time. So from a sequencing perspective, what I say is if you go really short, you've got to deal with this long club in a really short amount of time, in a short amount of space. So a longer backswing tends to help. And just going short, or let's say I'm not driving it very well on a day and I go, I'm going to just shorten up the backswing, doesn't tend to help.
Well, we have a couple of examples here too. The first one, who's this?
So we got Carl Berkshire. So Carl's a really, really nice individual. So I've met him. He's also a very, very springy, fast individual. His swing is a great example. He used to do that little shift. So it shows you that he's trying to create energy. He's trying to create momentum. He's moving his pressure. And he shows intention. we were lucky enough to actually hear him talk at the PGA show last year. And he said when he does his little rock with his feet, yes, it was to try and get the move going, but it was also to, when we talk about mindset, it was to say, look, I'm about to hit one really, really far.
Yeah. And it's such a cool footwork move that he does. It's really unique, and man, he really crushes it. Do you want to comment a little bit about that footwork? And
so the one thing I like about his footwork is he pushes really hard into the ground, but he's pushing himself open. So there's sometimes we talk about how you need to like use vertical force, and vertical force is definitely a good way to create club head speed. But vertical force, so pushing out of the ground, does not open your hips. So you don't just push straight up. I kind of ask people, you want to feel like you're pushing through the ground in an angle that means when you push into the ground's going to push you back. And that angle is going to go up through your hip, and it's going to go up through your shoulder. So you see, so it makes everything open.
Yeah. And this isn't, for a lot of people, that the pushing could be a totally new concept because if you were one of the types to keep your head down, you're not allowing any of your force to be used from the ground because you're afraid that your body's going to pick up or your head's going to pick up. But what Steve is actually talking about is that you are pushing from the ground in multiple different ways. And it's kind of like when you're in a swimming pool and you go to the end of the pool and you kick off of the side, you being able to kick off propels you through the pool, where you could go to the middle of the pool and have nothing to push off of, and you don't have that same momentum. So you could actually make your force of your club a lot more by pushing off of the ground.
Yeah. And the pushing,
that's what the best players do.
Yeah. And the pushing of the ground, it allows you to create all of that speed. It allows you to create your sequencing. So when you don't push and you have less energy in the system, you don't accelerate and decelerate. So it actually becomes harder to control the plane of the swing and then that path coming into the ball. So pushing with the legs, really important. We'll see Carl obviously does great. And then EJ.
So just real quick, do you think that, does the long hair have anything to do with his long drives? You know, do you think maybe no? Okay. Okay. Long hair won't. Yeah. Kyle Berkshire's got this really long hair. No, I guess that doesn't help. All right. How about EJ?
So let's talk about EJ. So EJ doesn't have long hair and he still hits it a long way. So I like to use that. I don't think EJ is an outlier. I think long hair doesn't correlate, but I might be wrong. So what's interesting with EJ is in the Masters division of the long drive. So I think you have to be over 45 years old. He was ranked in the top 10 after his awesome performance in 2019. See, the COVID affected it in 2020. EJ isn't springy like Kyle. So Kyle is like this fast. Totally different. Kyle is this fast twitch. Like EJ isn't that. But what EJ does really well, and this is what we work on when we work on lessons, and does a lot with Tammy in the fitness center, is he makes sure he makes a big swing. And then he pushes out of the ground. So when you watch him swing, after he's hit a few shots, he actually leaves footprint. And
we're talking like, this is 3 shots. So the video is taking place down at the Naples facility, Bonita Bay, Naples. And he has to go down to that range because he hits it too far to stay on the facilities at the West Course. He hits it too far on either the Marsh or the Creekside range. So he has to go down to a different golf course just to keep his ball on the range. And after 2 or 3 shots, you can see, I want to say it's after like 2 shots, you can see full on wear and tear where his feet actually were.
And like,
it's incredible.
And like after a session, it looks like somebody's like hit a wedge, 2 wedges from his feet. That's like, it looks like there's divots there.
Yeah.
So it's impressive. It shows you how he's pushing. That's what allows him to sequence. It's what allows him actually to hit up on the ball as well. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in a second. But if you don't push, you can't hit up on it. If you try to keep your head down, You can't push and you can't hit up on it.
And it's a tough way to play.
Yeah.
But one thing real quick, EJ is our director of golf. He's amazing, and he is top 10 in the world long drive. I know we mentioned it a little bit, but I just think that is just incredible. We're really fortunate to be able to watch him work on his game on top of managing all the things that he does at the club.
And like just for context, so his longest drive that he hit at Worlds, and the one that got him into the knockout stages, was the equivalent. So for a Bonita Bay member, the Creekside first hole off of the back tee, so off the fives, so it's far back, he would have hit it on the green.
Wow, that's great.
And do you want to
what was the distance?
So that's about 370.
Wow.
And then if you want to know how downwind it was a little into.
Oh, wow.
So that was into the wind. So if it's slightly, next time you're there and it's slightly into the wind, look back at that tee and then realize challenging EJ to a long drive is not a good idea.
Yeah, it is definitely fun to
challenge him to chipping.
Uh-oh.
So back to the misconceptions. I'm going to rattle through these ones a little bit quicker. Light is fast. Is a misconception. So trying to hold the club really light isn't going to make you swing quick. And think about it. When we swing back, we get to the top of our swing, we got to change direction. So if we're light, we can't do it fast.
Watching out for his invisible club over here.
Megan's been trained. Megan does a lot of junior coaching, so she's got the reflexes.
I'm always ready.
So holding it light, we go back, we get to the top of our swing. To actually create good club head speed, there is quite a lot of pulling at the top. If you look at EJ's clubs, if you look at any long hitters, they start to mark out their grips. I was lucky at TPI, Justin James was there. He had a new grip that had been on his club for 1 week, and you would have thought it had been on there for 4, 5, 6 months.
Oh my gosh.
Because he's pulling on that handle.
And it's like, how often do you hear, hold it light as a bird, or like toothpaste, you just, it's so misunderstood, and how that does, maybe for somebody that could work, but then there's so many great players that are holding it firm. It's like, you can't just, everyone's not doing that. And I love that story about the grip though.
Yeah. And it's looking at, like, if you're feeling tension on the course, can you see maybe trying to hold it light to start with might be okay. So I'm not trying to just say, oh, that's
I actually find that when people have tension on the course, when they start light, they're more likely to hold it tight.
I agree.
And so many cases like that, if I have someone that's really tense, I'll say, hey, why don't you start with it firm? And then they find that, wait, actually, that's pretty comfortable, because now I can't then strangle it. I can't then get firm. So I do love that one. Yeah.
So, and it kind of ties in, and again, I don't want to make this too long, is if you do a slow backswing actually means you won't hit the ball as far. Because you make a quicker backswing, it makes you have to change direction. And by having to break the club and then change direction, it gives you that kind of that stretch shortening cycle. It puts lots of energy into that golf club. So swinging slow in the backswing light doesn't really help.
It's just all these things, they sound good, and then when you actually realize, I mean, what Steve is talking about, it's being dynamic. What are you going to do when you're really being powerful and putting energy into transferring the energy to the golf ball? It's not going to be like kind of slow and trying to just put it out there straight. You're capable of so much more, but are you going to give yourself the permission and allow yourself to do it?
And then I've kind of spoken about distance versus accuracy. People think I either play for accuracy or I play for distance. And I hope I've kind of explained with driver, I want you to play for distance and you'll start to find the accuracy. So I've kind of already discussed that one. And the other one was angle of attack. So angle of attack. So when TrackMan came out, there wasn't really a particularly good device that got angle of attack well. You know, it was out there, but it wasn't commercially available. TrackMan's got very popular, and they started to do lots of tests and find out what the long hitters do. And one of them is, and they actually published a scientific paper on it, was angle of attack. And let's say you've got a swing speed of, I think it's 90 miles an hour. If you hit 5 degrees down, so that's like hitting down into the ball versus 5 degrees up, so kind of sweeping up on the ball, it will carry like 30 yards different.
Yeah, that angle of attack being up. Wow. But goodness.
Here's the reason I've put it into my misconceptions.
Okay.
That statement, from a physics standpoint, is 100% right. The more up you hit on it, the further it will go. But we have to factor in we're not robots. A lot of us aren't designed to hit up on it. You have to separate a lot to hit up on it, and your grip style will have a huge influence on how much you can hit up on it. So if you're very tight, especially in the hips, you won't be able to separate your lower and upper body. So then you can't get the tilts required to hit up on it. So your energy will be really compromised. Your strike will be really compromised. So although angle of attack helps, those other factors mean you'll drive the ball pretty poorly. So we have to be careful with angle of attack. And it's not a simple case, especially when we're coaching, of going, well, if you need more distance, I'll just make you hit up on it more. We've got to actually test your body. That's why we do like TPI tests. I really like Mike Adams and EA Tischler's bioswing dynamic stuff, you know, trying to look at how our bodies move, because we're going to create our most energy if we move the way our body wants to move and how our body can move.
Definitely.
So angle of attack, hitting as much up as you can, not just hitting up as much as you can. We then move on. So that's my myths and misconceptions. We're then going to go, how do I train speed?
Okay.
So, and that, like, kind of, how do I do it? So first of all, if you're working on speed, work on speed. Don't work on accuracy at the same time. And I've said that a couple of times now, but that's a really important part. Too often I see people on the range needing distance, and I watch them and they're working on trying to hit it straight, because it's a little unnerving hitting some wayward shots. I like to make speed training fun and kind of go laugh at how wide you might hit it. But what you're going to find pretty quickly is you won't get to laugh as much as you would think, because you actually start to hit great shots.
Now that's kind of that's a fun way to say it about expect to be hitting everywhere, and then you'll actually find out when you let yourself do this, you end up hitting it better. Yeah.
So you train for distance. If I'm trying to hit it distance, I'm going for distance. What I then do, I've got 2 products that I like using. I like the super speed sticks. You know, I think they're a really good way to like fire up, actually make muscle that you already have. It looks more at the hard wiring. It gets you moving. It changes the central nervous system. So that's why I really like the super speed sticks. And then I really like the Mach 3 speed system, which I use. You might have seen me on the range. I'll start doing videos on it where I start moving the ropes.
It's seriously cool. I love seeing the changes that people make on that.
And again, that's very much about trying to send your energy. It's very much not about where do I get to hit at the ball. It's about completing the movement. And then my favorite drill is fireballs.
Yeah, this is a good one.
So fireballs.
Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Okay.
There's my intro.
Pitbull.
I hope this is a good drill now, because the intro was spectacular.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, I couldn't help myself.
5 balls. You hit them. I usually do them in the middle of my practice session. I don't wait till the end. I tend to do them in the middle. 5 balls. Hit them as far as you can. Doesn't matter if you miss all 5. It doesn't matter if they all go completely wild. Just all out attack.
I love that.
And what's good about that is think about when you're in the gym, when you need to overwhelm your system so your system changes. If you always hit within yourself, why would your body try to hit it further? Why would it try to adapt? So the reason I do it in the middle of my session, most of the time you'll be surprised how well people hit it. But then when you go back to try and hit normal, it's hard to go back to what you were doing. So you go into crazy mode, you go into, there's no rules, it's just foot down. Then when you go back to trying to do what you normally do, you're a little bit quicker as a result.
Yeah, I'd never heard that until I met you, and it's a game changer for sure.
So fireballs, if you've learned nothing from this, fireballs, just try it. 5, hit them.
I totally agree. I think that is one of the big takeaways from our episode today is, are you holding yourself back from your potential by some of these, misunderstood common myths? And then adding in and incorporating, how do I practice this? That drill of, I don't think a lot of people are trying to hit it as maximum as hard as they can for.
So I had one of the very good players at the club come, and he needed distance, and he was really efficient with his strikes. He was a really good driver of the golf ball. He needed distance. I found him 8 miles an hour at the beginning of the session, just by going, show me how fast you can go. He said, I can't go any faster than this. I go, well, just show me. And he went a bit quicker. I went, well, can you do quicker than that? Oh yeah. He found 8 miles before I even did any real intervention.
That's pretty good.
So
stuff.
you see, you start to apply it on the range. Nobody is maxed out on the distance. Everybody can swing a little quicker. You get some good instruction and you do a bit of practice, you learn how to control it. But you control it through experiencing the speed. You don't learn to control it prior to that. Does that make sense?
It's a lot more in the tank there. A little bit more we could be putting into our shots for sure. So we hope you guys enjoyed this video. Everything is on buzzaboutgolf.com. You'll be able to see all of the episodes. You can watch any that you missed and also see future information on upcoming episodes. The next session is going to be in a couple of weeks. The information will be put on the website as well. And the topic will be putting instruction. Putting.
So we've gone from my speciality straight in. Don't feel like Megan was left out today. Next time. Yep. She will shine.
All right. Well, we will see you next time. Thank you again for joining us and for sharing these videos. If it's helped you, we think it can help some friends as well. And really my motto now is, if you knew it, you would do it. So hopefully we can get you that information, but make sure to find your golf buzz at buzzaboutgolf.com. Thanks so much, everybody.
Thank you. And remember, don't keep your head down.